Hello, and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. This is the podcast where we speak to comedians and mavericks across the comedy world. Now, today's guest is called Katie Palmer, a name that is famous across the world. She's got the surname of one of my favorite acts, Brandon Palmer. She is um, she is a comedy producer all the way in Edinburgh, and she is a fascinating guest because she's put on a program that helps a lot of poor and struggling comedians in Scotland to perform at the very expensive Fringe festival that costs an arm and a leg called the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. She is a very charming lady. You're going to absolutely love her. Welcome, Katie Palmer.
Hello, thank you for having me.
How did you find the intro, Katie?
Uh, yeah, one of many Katie Palmers in comedy, or Kate or Katie. We're famous across the world, as you say. No, we're absolutely not, and I'm not related to any of the other Palmers. But
Do you prefer called Kate or Katie?
I've always been a Katie. But I know quite a lot of Kates, and I really like the name Kate. But I feel like I've never been called Kate, so it like doesn't suit me or something.
Okay. So for anyone that's like listening in right now, or if we've got all sorts of people, all sorts of comments across the world. We've got geezers listening in, we've got rednecks listening in, we've got MMA fighters listening in from across the globe. Like, tell us a bit about your story and how you became the founder of Brass Tacks Comedy and what led you to setting up the Edinburgh Fringe Fund to help support comics.
Yeah, so to be honest, I was just always a comedy fan. Like I've just always loved comedy since I was really small. My parents would show me comedy. There was like a running joke in my family that I didn't laugh out loud like when watching TV. Like and I would really enjoy it, but I wouldn't laugh out loud. And then they put on Lee Evans, and I was like 8, and I like cried laughing. And they were like, "Oh, okay, like we found a thing." So they would show me like more and more Lee Evans, and then just more and more stand-up comedy. I've just always loved comedy, always been to watch loads of live comedy. And I live in Edinburgh. Well, I'm from Edinburgh. I live in Edinburgh now. So the Fringe was inescapable. So I would get like student jobs working on bars at like Underbelly and in Bristol Square and stuff. And would see a bunch of shows. And it was 2019. So I was venue managing at the Fringe. So like working really closely with comedians and acts and everything. And that was the first time I really like I thought comedy was just this like incredible thing everyone loved, and I didn't think there would be jobs in it. Like it was so like untangible to me. And the same year, someone that I was working with in the Fringe said to me, "Oh, so do you actually like stand-up comedy?" And I was like, "What? Like, doesn't everyone?" Like I didn't know it was like a hobby. I thought it was just a thing everyone watched and did, and like I thought it was so natural that I didn't know that it was like a hobby or like a thing that I was interested in. So that Fringe like changed everything. Met a bunch of like comedians and agents and just people in comedy. Obviously, then lockdown happened a year later or 6 months later, whatever it was. But I used to work in events, so I ended up just doing like basically I ended up working on the drive-in comedy shows, like by mistake. Those like everyone hated them. But the company that I was working for had obviously like booked this show, and the lineup was incredible, but it was just like a bit messy. It was just like comedians were introducing each other and stuff, and I was like, I think I'm gonna like come up with like a pitch as to why they should let me book this show. And I'd like prepped and planned and like had this whole idea of what I was going to say to them. And then I went up to like the owner of the company and I was like, "Hey, who booked the comedy?" And he went, "Oh my God, do you know about comedy? Could you book the rest of them?" I was like, "Yeah," nailed it. And like genuinely just continued to do that. So like a few years later, I basically asked for a job at Gilded Balloon, and they kind of said, "Yeah, do you want to run late and live?" And I was like, "Yeah, total dream job." Like I'm such a like if you don't ask, you don't get person. And that was because I'd been at Altitude Comedy Festival. I came home and was like sad post holiday. I was like, I want to work in comedy. And just emailed a bunch of people and ended up with like 2 jobs for that Fringe. Um, and then that's then escalated into like working year round, producing shows for bigger companies, working at the Glasgow Comedy Festival, and then started Brass Tacks Comedy at the beginning of last year. kind of as a,
Ah,
oh, sorry.
no, it's a thought. It wasn't interrupting me. It's just find it interesting.
Well, that it's like quite new.
No, it's interesting your journey. It's
Yeah.
I was just making a noise. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. But yeah, I totally, yeah, like fumbled my way into this like career that I now absolutely love. And yeah, started Brass Tacks Comedy. It was supposed to be a long-term plan of like, maybe it started as an Instagram page talking about comedy happening in Scotland and like Scottish comedy and comedy happening in Scotland. And I thought maybe in like 5 years this could become a production company. And then that was in January, and then by the March of that year I had two Fringe shows to produce, and it all happened very fast. And then so now still work at the Glasgow Comedy Festival, and then the other half of my week or my year is Brass Tacks and doing the Fringe and doing a bunch of tours and like planning loads already for next like end of this year and start of next year of more tours and everything. So it's happened very fast from like a little comedy nerd that was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that no one else liked comedy. Well, not no one else, but I thought just everyone did.
Oh, no, that's and I was saying that because it's interesting. Like you did your like internship of like working for
Mm.
different comedy producers, different venues, and like you started to figure out how it works, and you're like, oh, okay, now I know what sort of thing I want to do in comedy, and that's why I
Yeah.
made that. I wasn't interrupting. I wasn't. I was just going, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Like learn a lot from all of the various jobs that I've done, but then it's the best. Yeah, I guess it made me. I learned so many positive things, but also made me want to like try and do things a little bit differently where possible. And I'm also just a like yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm a very impatient person. Like if I have an idea, I want to do it yesterday, and like I'm annoyed I haven't started yet. So I think working for myself and like running my own company, you can do that, and I can like wake up one morning and have an idea and crack on and do it. Where obviously when you work for a bigger organization and there's other team members and there's processes and things that can feel, I personally, because I'm a like petulant child, get frustrated. So hence starting my own thing.
You like being your own boss.
Yes, yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, and pros and cons, obviously, but I do think, I don't know, I learn by doing. So like, you just need to start doing stuff and then figure out how to have done it better.
So, are you a kinesthetic learner? Because that's that. I'm not very good at learning. So I do a bit of jujitsu, and I think people on the podcast heard me mention it. But when they show me the moves in class are terrible, I have to do the move a lot for me to learn. But if they show,
Yeah,
I don't learn through showing. I have to do it a lot before I get it.
yeah, yeah. That's probably. I'm like weirdly thinking. I've started. I mean, I'm almost done, but I've been like building a website because we currently don't have a website. And yeah, I have to sit with like a YouTube tutorial up and pause it every 3 seconds and go do the thing that they've just told me to do.
Oh,
Otherwise,
okay.
and then I'll pause it and do a thing and then go, oh, that's actually made me figure out how to do this other thing. So I'll like crack on and do that. And then you go back to the YouTube tutorial and I'm like, I'm bored. I'm ahead of you now. Go, go, go.
That's a good.
I just want to crack on, but I'm just impatient. Like I just want everything done immediately.
So, if you're working for different like comedy clubs, different comedy productions, what did you learn in terms of dealing with punters, in terms
Mm.
of dealing with comedians, and of course dealing with producers and agents that you're willing to disclose?
Yeah. Um, oh, good question. I think punters, or well, like, so punter, obviously, in terms of like, it's like basic customer service, right? Like something goes wrong, explain that it went wrong and why it went wrong and continue. But I think what I am kind of trying to do with Brass Tacks Comedy from a punter perspective is get to the people who like go to the Fringe, maybe watch the odd like live at the Apollo or like chat show or whatever, but don't realize that wherever they live on any given night or at least on like a Friday and Saturday, you can go watch live comedy. Like I think a lot of punters don't know that, but they'll like avidly come to the Fringe, or they live in Edinburgh and they'll go to the Fringe every August, and then that's that until next year's Fringe. Or I'm trying to like kind of spread the word through Brass Tacks Comedy for people who are a little bit interested in stand up or they've seen comedy but they just don't know where to start. because obviously it's huge and overwhelming, and there's bad comedy out there in the same way that there's bad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh well, maybe not bad, but there's people who are new and like, or you might see them on an off night, or like, or everyone's seen incredible comedians bomb because something's not right in the room, like the audience are weird, they've had a bad, like whatever it is. So sorry, not that there's bad. Well, I mean, listen, there's probably still bad comedy out there, but like, I think a lot of people go to like the Stand on a Friday, have a rubbish night, and go like, I don't like stand up comedy. You're like, no, you saw a bad night. Like, go back. Or like someone picked on you and you didn't like it. Like that comedian won't be there the next time or whatever it is. So that's kind of what I've learned about punters, is that a lot of people will love comedy if they find the right thing, or
Yeah.
like go
Okay.
to the right club or see the right act, or they might not like traditional stand up, but they might like clowning, or like there's so much out there. Or people going like, oh, stand up comedy is just like some guy talking about how he doesn't love his wife anymore. And you're like, yeah, they're out there, but there's other stuff too. There's also like fresh voices. So that's what I've learned about punters. What was the other one? Comedians is a stereotype, but they hate admin. And like, I think it's a stereotype for a reason. But yeah, and another, I'm going to just complain about the Fringe throughout this, that comedians don't like doing admin because that isn't why they got into this. Like, I think it's a trope and it is kind of true, but I've heard like rumbles like in the Fringe, like in Fringe venues and stuff, of just being like, oh, these like comedians don't read their emails. And you're like, yeah, they're doing 100 other things and they're very creative people and they're writing a show. They don't have time to read your 7-paragraph email that has a deadline in paragraph 6 that's in 3 days' time. Like, that's a crazy way to disseminate information. So I think comedians are bad at admin. Most of them are. A lot of them are. But that's what people like me are supposed to do. That's our job, is to take that away and not complain about it, basically. What was the other one from other producers? I learned from working with other producers. Oh, good question. I mean, there's so many great producers out there. I would like for big, huge production companies to pay more attention to Scottish comedy, because I'm very biased. But I guess to like regional comedy, just to any comedy outside of London.
I've heard that. I've heard that a lot. I know that Tom Little said to me, if you want to get famous on TV, live in London is more important than doing the Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and it's like, obviously I'm very biased about Scotland, and I'm super happy to be biased about Scotland, but I'm sure it applies to any kind of regional accent. Um, and yeah, I think one of the reasons for setting up these funds and stuff was because the Edinburgh Fringe is in Edinburgh. Obviously, it's in our capital city, it's on our doorstep, and it has been for such a long time. I mean, obviously for the history of the Fringe, but it has been like that way for such a long time. So at this point in 2025, any comedy fan who like turns on the telly or goes to any gig across the country should be thinking, how come there's so many Scottish acts? Like, Scottish acts should be disproportionately represented in the industry, and if anything, I think it's the opposite. So yeah, just trying to see what I could do to like support Scottish comedy and kind of shout about it and get more Scottish acts better opportunities at the Fringe.
There's a lot of them. I've done a few posts on like TikTok and Instagram and all of that, and a lot of them, even if they're in Scotland, say that PBH are like a godsend. So many acts, even in Scotland, wouldn't be able to do the Fringe without PBH.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, because again, it's just less upfront costs and like a better like financial setup, right?
Yeah, they just said that it costs a lot less than they would be able, they can't do the paid ones. But
Yeah.
I do, the one thing I will say, and I'm not bothered if it gets me in hot water on this, but I heard that in the paid fringes they only pay you 2 months after the fringe or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. And to be fair, I do understand it. It is a nightmare that because I've like, worked on the venue side, and I've never been quite in like the weeds of the settlement process, but I've seen it. Like, I've been in offices while it's happening, and for the venues, it is a long process where they're trying to go through however many 100 shows and figure out what their box office income was and what their spend was and how many hours of tech time they have to pay for, and like they have to go through all the stuff for so many shows. And then the Fringe Society don't pay the venues till however long after the Fringe. So I do understand why it takes 2 months for the venues to pay the acts, but another it's another one of those problems at the Fringe where no one wins. Like, because then I think acts probably do blame the venues, and it's not really the venues' fault, but the venues are blaming the Fringe Society. And I've never worked at the Fringe Society, but maybe it's not their fault either. I'm sure they've got their own processes on their side. It's just one of the flaws of it being this absolute beast of a festival. And like, obviously people don't want to rush the settlement and then overpay someone, and then the venues have to go like, oh, so sorry, can we have £300 back that we shouldn't have given you? So I get it, but it's awful. And then so you get paid in like October, and then if you're on the paid Fringe, you get paid like September, October, November time, and then your deposit's due like right after that for next year's Fringe. So any like, I mean, it's not even profit, but the income that you're getting immediately goes back to next year. So it's a broken system. Unless you go into debt for the first one, and then at least you're on like a cycle of you get paid and then you pay your upfront costs again, but it's mental.
Do you see the costs just going up and up and up and up, or do you think that at some point there'll be a plateau?
I mean, who knows? It feels like it just simply can't keep going up. Like, but that's just wishful thinking, I guess. Like, I'm no economist, but it just feels like it can't continue to go up. But I don't know what the turning point will be. Because, and again, as I said, I've never worked for like the Fringe Society or for the council or the government. Like, all of these problems are way, way higher up than me, but it felt a lot like the pandemic should have been the turning point. Just to have a year off, like to cancel the Fringe felt like, oh, cool. Like, because that's time for change. That's like everyone can step back a minute and like think about this. And then that kind of COVID, that 2021 Fringe, that was so small, the tickets were really cheap, shows were selling out all the time. Like, as a punter, it was a nightmare because all the shows sold out, so you had to book everything in advance. Like, you couldn't just like walk around and get flyered and jump into a show. Like, you had to plan and book everything in advance. But it was so great for all the acts, and like it felt like what the Fringe probably was before my time, where it was just this like lovely tiny festival where people were making money and tickets were cheap and stuff. And then 2022 came and we were just back to how it has always been. So I don't know, kind of felt like if a global pandemic doesn't change anything, then I don't know what will.
Yeah. But I heard that people that did that Fringe after the pandemic really loved it. They said it was the
Yeah,
best Fringe they ever did.
yeah, it was amazing. Like, and even just like sitting in all the bars and stuff, and they were like busy enough to have an atmosphere, but you could also get a seat. It was absolutely lovely.
Oh, good old days.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't like, obviously, I mean, I've been going or like working in the Fringe since I was like 18, 19, and I've been going since before that. But I get, obviously back then I wasn't paying attention to like the industry and to the way it worked. And like, I was just a kid that was like kicking about. So there's a part of me that I'm like, oh, maybe I'm kind of too new to comedy that I can't see the changes. But I wonder which year in the history of Fringe 2021 would have compared to in terms of size. Like, was that what the Fringe was like in like the early 90s, like the 80s? Like, I don't know. I would love to like know that scale.
Yeah, I would love to see it because I know that I would love to have seen what it was like when it actually changed people's lives completely,
Mm,
like in the days of Michael McIntyre and people like that. Like they would have a good Fringe run and then they'll get famous. I'd
yeah,
love to see what it was like then.
yeah, and yeah. And I'm sure at the time it felt like the biggest festival on the planet, and it probably at the time felt too busy and too big and too expensive and everything. And it's just got like worse and worse. Like, I wonder if there was ever a time when everyone at the Fringe went like, yeah, this is the perfect size actually, or like, or was everyone constantly complaining about the prices and the size and the competition and just not knowing it was going to continue to get worse for the next 30 years?
it is a great festival. I do enjoy going up
Mm.
there when I do get the chance. But you've done something that's really amazing and brilliant in that you set up a fund to help support comedians that are struggling. Now that's
Yeah,
bloody amazing, and
thank you.
like Eddie Brimson and it said something that's quite honest about the circuit itself in terms it is a can be a dog eat world, and it is good to see people that are actually doing things that are helping others on the circuit. And like, what was the heart and soul behind it, and like, how hard was it, and what was the process in which you got sponsors? Did you go to the sponsor, say, listen here, Sonny Jim, you better give me £1,000, or
Yeah, pretty much. I put on a "See You, Jimmy" hat, and then she went knocking on doors. No, absolutely not. Uh, but yeah, no, it was hard. It's such a mix of so yeah. I guess for anyone that doesn't know, we have one act at the Fringe this year who is being funded by Red Bull UK, which is obviously, I mean, the biggest brand in the world, arguably. Red Bull, like, there's not many people who haven't heard of Red Bull, like huge brand. And then a second act that's being funded by Blackfriars Comedy Club, which is like an incredible comedy club in Glasgow. And it came about, so it was kind of last year's Fringe, basically, of just walking around. And as I say, I'm very biased about the Scottish comedy scene, but I really do think that the Scottish comedy scene is incredible. And Scottish people are funny and pride ourselves on being funny. Like, we think that we're funnier than anyone else on the planet, and our comedy scene's incredible. But it just does feel like every Fringe, and I keep caveating that I'm biased because I bet everyone feels like this. I'm sure it's not just. I don't think there's a conspiracy to like keep Scottish acts down at the Fringe. Like, I really don't think any of that's happening. But it was like this year, just so many incredible Scottish shows, none of which nominated for awards. Like, and just yeah, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to like support Scottish comedy because I'm from here and I work in the Scottish comedy scene, and support like working class acts or people who can't afford to come to the Fringe. And I had been thinking about this a lot last year, and essentially, because I am good at admin, like, weird thing to brag about, but like my skill set is like project management, admin, like that's my background. And I was like, I wonder if I could use that for good, and put together a really like shit hot sponsorship proposal and send it to as many people as I can think of. Because as I said, a lot of comedians, like, that isn't why they got into this. They're not, comedians don't get on stage and tell jokes because they want to run a business. Like, they want to be creative and worry about being funny. So anyway, so I was like, I think I could get sponsorship, and it'll be a tiny little drop in the ocean, but it'll support someone in a really tangible way. So I wrote this proposal. I was like, maybe like 4-page proposal, essentially saying everything I've just said to you, but in a more professional tone. I got lots of friends outside of the comedy industry to read it, like just people with like a more business mindset to read through this, and we made changes and everything. And then I had this like tracker document of everyone I'd sent it to. So I'd planned like the initial send and then the follow up and then the third follow up, and then I would like tick them off the list. And I had this like tracker and everything. I did loads of research of like companies I thought would be interested, and sent it to so many people. So I would block like 2 hours a week and just send it out, and did that for like a month maybe. And I kind of had a deadline in my head because I was like, obviously there's a point at which the Fringe deadlines start. So anyway, got nowhere. Like, I think I should find the number. I think it was maybe like 10 people or 10 companies got back and said no, and no one else responded. And it was over 100 people that I'd sent it to. And then spoke to Red Bull, and she got so lucky. Because now where I'm like, oh, I could have just sent it to Red Bull and been done with all of this. But I sent it to Red Bull, and the timing was perfect. They were looking at their like kind of next year's budget, and the Fringe was a big part of their budget. Like, I kind of work with like the East of Scotland team essentially, who the Fringe is their big like regional moment. They felt as though what they'd done last year at the Fringe was like good, but it wasn't kind of tangible enough. They weren't like offering anything, and they were like, yeah, cool, let's do this, let's do your thing. And then obviously I went, I should have asked for more money. But yeah, they've been incredible, and they're so relaxed about it. They're so in their kind of like model of it, as much as they're supporting a comedian and supporting the Scottish comedy scene, they're also seeing it as supporting me as a like Scottish female comedy producer. So they're really happy to like support me to support a comedian, which is really nice. Rather than going like, we want our logo all over this and we want you to do it our way. They're like, you crack on, you're the expert. Like, we'll help if you need us, kind of thing. Um, so yeah, so that was incredible. We opened like applications for it. The criteria were like vague. It was like you have to be Scottish or live in Scotland, and you essentially have to feel like you can't afford to go to the Fringe otherwise. And over 50 people applied, which was
Oh,
incredible, but devastating that like over 50 people felt ready to debut but couldn't afford it, which is pretty telling in itself. Um, and then so Io Denican is an incredible Scottish act. He like lives in Edinburgh, he's down in Leith, and he like all of his material is about like growing up a black bisexual man in overwhelmingly white Edinburgh. Like he's just so like warm on stage and like silly and tackling this like huge like political like identity politics material, but with this like warmth and silliness and like ease. He's so incredible. So I'm so like proud to be working with him. And he's at Monkey Bar, which is amazing. And then yeah, basically then, long story short, Io Denican and Jack Trainer are like two Scottish acts that I was desperate to support, desperate to work with. And I didn't know how to pick between them. And I asked loads of people in like the Scottish comedy industry and at the festival and other promoters and everything. And everyone was like, yeah, I don't know how you choose between them, man. Like you're on your own. I don't know what you're going to do. And then Blackfriars Comedy Club, where Jack gigs a lot. He does a comedy pub quiz every week and he's there a lot, has a really good relationship with them. So Chris Conway, the owner, basically went, fuck it, what do you need? And matched the Red Bull funding. And now we have both of them going to the Fringe. So it's, yeah, right? Like, it's incredible. And I'm so proud of the two funds and I'm so proud to be working with these two acts. I'm also super conscious that it's a drop in the ocean. Like, two people in however many hundreds of thousands of millions need support. But for those two, like, you always kind of have to choose with anything like this as to whether to support a bunch of people a little bit or support a small amount of people with loads. So I think I've made the right call because hopefully now this is the two of them set to do the Fringe for as long as they want to, because they won't necessarily walk away with thousands and thousands of pounds profit, but they won't lose a penny. Yeah. So hopefully they make a little bit of money, and then if they want to, they can put that towards fronting next year's costs, and that's them then on that cycle of getting their settlement and then paying their deposit. So yeah, super proud of it, and honestly, both acts are truly like two of the most exciting acts in Scotland right now, and beyond that. Like, they're just incredible. So if anyone's coming to the Fringe, do them a favour because they were funded. They need the ticket money. But yes, it was hard work, but I also then got super lucky at the end. So I think with things like this, you never know if it's going to be hard work or not. I might have to imagine I just messaged Red Bull first and saved so much time.
yeah. But the feeling afterwards, that I mean, like it was on short, but the things afterwards, like you must feel a lot of great things because the difference you're making to those two comedians' lives. But they're in paid venues, they're in a place where they may get seen, they're ready for it. So you're given a platform where if they smash it, which they're likely to do, no pressure on them, but like you've helped them really make a big step in their career.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, and it's that kind of, I don't like a name like Red Bull. I'm hoping that people might just read that in the brochure and go like, oh, Red Bull are funding this guy. Like, that's not something you see often. Let's go see him. It obviously could be the alternative, and people are like, well, they're being funded. They don't need our tickets. But yeah, I hope that kind of level of marketing does well for them. But it's also like ultimately, and as as part of the funding, I'm producing their shows. I'm doing all of their admin and marketing and all the like project management. So they get to, like, it's pretty once in a lifetime to like debut at the Fringe and worry about nothing other than your jokes. Like, so they're both in a position to write incredibly good debut shows because they're not having to worry about all the debt they're going into and like just having to project manage such a long and complex beast. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very proud of them both. Yeah, they've both completely like risen to the occasion, and they're both of their shows are like shaping up better than I expected, and I had high expectations.
Did you go and see them? So you've seen them, their work in
Oh
progress shows.
yeah. I've been to like as many as I can because I'm obsessed with them both. And I'm kind of I get because of the nature of the funding, I'm probably doing a bit more than like just produce them. I'm sort of doing a bit of like directing and yeah, I guess almost like acting as an agent for this period of time. Like I'm doing a lot for them because I really want them to make the best of this opportunity. So yes, I've been to. If I don't go to their work in progress, I make them record it and send me it. Like their mother, like their nagging mother who doesn't let them do anything without approval.
You're like, listen here. You're
Yeah.
like, have you seen A Bronx Tale?
No.
Have you seen The Sopranos?
Oh no, I've not seen The Sopranos. If that like haunts me, I know I should have seen The Sopranos by now.
Have you seen Goodfellas?
No.
Okay, fine.
I only watch comedy, exclusively comedy.
Okay, fine. So if you imagine like an Italian American
Uh,
mafioso, or as they're called, Cosa Nostra, that's what they
right.
call themselves. They go, "Hey, are you like, come on, hey, Jimmy, what's going on here? I put all of this to get you going here. You gotta get a punchline going on."
Yeah, well, I'm going to start talking to them exclusively like that. I think that's a great idea.
Are you gonna
Like
dangle
mob
a
wife.
Are you gonna dangle a deep fried Mars bar? Listen, this is the best
Mm.
deep fried Mars bar in Edinburgh. Do you want it?
Yeah. Yeah, it should. I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's what we should do to like celebrate Scottish comedy. Just eat deep fried Mars bars.
Is a deep fried pizza any good?
Yes, it's incredible.
Oh,
Well, so they are different in Edinburgh and Glasgow. I prefer the Edinburgh deep fried pizza because it's a deep in Edinburgh it's a deep fried pizza, and then in Glasgow it's like a pizza crunch, so it's battered, and that's a bit too much for me. But a deep fried pizza is fucking delicious. It's just like a crunchy pizza. It makes no sense, but it's amazing. I actually also had a deep fried Mars bar recently. I hadn't had one since I was like 12 years old, and I got one in Berlin. I was like in Berlin over Christmas, and we went to like a Mexican restaurant, and there was deep fried Mars bars on the menu, and I was like, well, I simply must. And then the like German man who served me it was like, "Oh, wait till you try this. It's like a delicacy." Like I was like, "Yeah, no, I know. It's actually we actually gave you this. This is our thing." Incredible.
not to be racist, but was he like, when you eat this, it was really so delicious.
Oh, I feel like that's what accent is that? I feel like that's something that's like Austrian. That was like vampire-esque.
Oh, I'm trying to do German, like talking, see, when I was, no, never mind.
Yeah, it was like Borat.
Oh, okay. Nice. How much? Oh, don't.
But yeah, we do love deep fried pizzas up here
Okay.
with salt and sauce. It's the whole thing.
Where would I go in Edinburgh to try it?
Oh, I mean, it's controversial. Anyone you ask would give you a different answer. I feel like honestly, I would be like, oh, the chippy at my mum and dad's house, which is like nowhere near the center of town, but it's my local chippy from when I was a child. I mean, anywhere. I feel like you can't go too far wrong with a deep fried pizza.
Okay, so just go in the centre of Edinburgh and say, listen here, Sonny Jim, get me a deep fried pizza right now.
Yeah, with salt and sauce. It's like brown sauce. It's incredible.
Ah. Well, it's funny that you got dishes like that because I know that in Northern Ireland they got the spice bag.
Yeah. See, I've actually never had a spice like you do get them here as well, but we know we like very much credit they're an Irish thing. But you do get them here, and they are delicious. I've like had a taste of people's. It's just all the food is slightly more delicious because it's covered in spices.
Okay, and is there any like particular Scottish Chinese dish?
Oh
Oh,
no, there is no. Is it Indian? There's some kind of like Indian dish that like Scotland invent. No, is that true? I don't know. I might be making that up. That might be like a London thing I'm trying to claim. I'm sure it's like a korma or something is like Glaswegian. I could be totally wrong.
the
Maybe fact check
tikka
that.
masala is definitely
Oh, maybe it's that.
English. But let's have a look. So chicken korma is, I'm going to go to chat GBT.
Nice, of course.
Is it Scottish?
They're going to be like, no, how dumb of you.
So it's not originally Scottish, but it comes from with roots in Mongolai cuisine. However, it has become incredibly popular in UK, including Scotland.
No, maybe not. I might just be thinking of like some English story I've heard that I'm trying to claim, but I feel like there is an Indian dish that is like actually a Scottish dish.
Okay,
Like
I'll
it's
look that
like
up.
Scottish Indian or something, but I could be talking
Asian
absolute
dish that
nonsense.
is Scottish. Oh, so the chicken tikka masala was invented in Glasgow.
Well, 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 and you tried to claim it as English. How dare you?
Uh, it's English and Scottish beef again, isn't it?
Always. You're always trying to steal our shit.
I'm sorry, man.
Oh, I can't believe I was right with that. I really started to doubt that.
Okay, so here is the examples of Scottish Asian fusion. There's the pakora,
Nice.
there's
Didn't
the
know that was
salt and
ours.
chili chips, there's curries with brew sauce,
Iron brew sauce?
brew sauce.
Do you not know about iron brew?
No.
Oh, it's our national drink.
Oh,
It's
yeah, no, I know iron brew, but I thought they meant it was like something else from the way it's written. But yeah, I've had iron brew. It's
oh
good. I thought it was whiskey. No.
oh yeah. Whiskey and iron brew separately. You can't mix them, but we do drink a lot of them both. That's one of my favorite. This is why I'm so like patriotic about Scotland. I love that so many of our stereotypes are real. Like I've like lived in like Australia and London and stuff. I love living in London and people would be like, "Oh, you guys just like drink like iron brew and whiskey all the time." And I'm like, "Yeah, we do. And we love it. Like we're proud of it and we eat deep fried shit and like we wear kilts to weddings and like I remember my a friend in London being like, "Oh my God, you don't like actually wear kilts, do you?" Like that's a stereotype. And we're like, "Yeah, men wear kilts to formal occasions." And I love that about us. I love all of our stereotypes.
And what about the Aussies? Were like, "G'day, mate. Oh, I'm a bogan. You're, I don't know."
Yeah. Yeah, when I lived in Australia, I would like turn up to work and my boss would go, "You hung out with your Scottish friends last night, didn't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And he was like, "I can't understand a word you're saying." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll like tone it down as the day goes on." Like, I just need to hear a few Australian accents and I'll start to tone it down. I don't even have a strong accent, but
I found Australians are either really chill and easygoing and a good laugh, or they're very blunt, aggressive,
Mm.
and brutal.
yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, a lot of my Australian friends I met in the UK, so maybe they're like they escaped, you know.
Maybe.
I did get one of the so right after the 2019 Fringe, when I'd found out that comedy was an actual interest and not just a thing everyone liked, I then went to Australia and worked on Perth Fringe, and I got absolutely slated for having an interest in stand up. Like they were just, and this is a shame because I'm still friends with some of them, but they were just such. It was like we like the theater and like dance and like really like artsy drag shows, but like stand up. I'm like, what? This is a comedy festival. Well, it's not. It's a festival, but there's loads of comedy at it. And it started off as like a like piss take, like that's what we'll slag Katie off about. And then I remember halfway through the Fringe being like, people would be like, "Oh, do you want to like come to a show?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm gonna go see like this stand up. Do you want to come?" And they would slag me off. So I just spent so much of that festival just going. I'd be like, "I'm seeing shows on my own, thank you. None of you are invited because I'm gonna go watch a bunch of stand up." But yeah,
Oh,
they were. It was like the most like othered I've ever felt for being a fan of stand up comedy. Which again doubled down. Like I had just found out that this was like an actual like hobby and not just or like an actual interest and not just a thing that people did. And then I got slagged off for it. And I'm like, fuck you guys, stand up comedy.
do,
Now here
do
we
you
are.
do you plan to like take like Brass Tacks to be an international sort of comedy thing? Comedy. What am I saying? Comedy thing.
What do you think?
Comedy like support and production
Yeah.
where like you're going to support acts across in Scotland across the globe, like where
Um,
they're touring in different festivals.
yeah, hopefully. To be honest, it's not I mean there's no leads at the moment. It's not on the horizon, but sure. Like I think yeah, I would love to take acts to like the Australian fringes and stuff and to tour internationally. Yeah, because at the moment, to be honest, I think like Ireland is the furthest afield that we've taken tours. It's all been like Scotland, England, and Ireland. Oh, like a Wales festival in Wales. But yeah, no, I would love that. Love to like start getting acts over to at least Australian fringes. That kind of feels like a gateway into like international touring because at least you've got like a captive audience, like a fringe audience there ready to see shows. Um, so yeah, definitely excuse to
I
go to Australia.
I heard that they're better. There's a guy, I don't know if you know him. Do you know Carl Legacy?
I don't know him personally, but I know of him. I saw him in Perth when I was seeing a bunch of stand-ups and not telling
Uh,
anyone.
but yeah, he was very unfiltered, and he's a cool guy to talk to on the
Mm.
podcast, and he's also a Liverpool supporter. But
Oh yeah.
but he what was he talking about? He says that Australian audiences, and I heard this from Gareth Berlin, are a lot more easygoing than perhaps London audiences. Like you
Mm.
could bomb for 10 minutes, but if you rescue the last minute, they'll be more than happy
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
But he told me a mad thing that happened in a Melbourne comedy festival where he was doing a pub crawl, taking people to different shows to his mates, and he was using like Liverpool slang for saying like he's calling a beer like a wife beater or something. And people were drunk and they thought that he was saying something misogynist about women. And so they started
Oh.
heckling him like a minute in the show, like 2 or 3 hours later. And then he put them down a bit, but then afterwards they were still going on at him. And then he was no longer a comedian, so he completely ripped them
Mm.
to shreds. Like should I say what he said? He said it on a podcast, so I don't think he minds it. But he says, "Listen here, you look like this, you," and then he said with one of them, "It's not my fault. The kitchen's closed, and you look like the girl from Baby Reindeer." And then,
Oh. Oh God.
and then he told me that he got reports. He got cancelled off the pub call because they were saying all this,
Oh.
but he denied it completely. But yeah, um, that's what he told me, and that's what he told me about the Australian festivals that they can be easygoing, but Melbourne has gotten a bit more. I won't say woke. I say a bit more sensitive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I've heard loads of acts say what you've said about Australian audiences that they're like great and they're so like receptive and stuff. But I felt like maybe it was Perth specific. I felt like some of the worst heckles I've like ever seen were in Australia. Like I remember in the same festival, I saw Larry Dean and some guy like mid joke was just like, "Oh hi, I know your uncle," and he was like, "Oh okay, we could talk about this after the show." Like that was like a crazy thing to just be, and it was like, "Oh hello, sorry, like I'm bored of this joke now. I actually have something to say." And I saw Mike Rice and someone's phone went, which like fair enough, it's a mistake. Phone went, answers it, FaceTime like to his daughter, and he's like, "I'm at a comedy show," like showing Mike, and Mike was like, "Oh, do you want me to talk to her, or like what do you want to do?" And it's like, I don't know if there's, I guess these people are everywhere, right? But just like the arrogance and some of the heckles. But I don't know if that's, I'm sure it's not Australia specific. It's maybe just I got unlucky. But yeah, I felt like it was very heckly.
I think that there's a bit of a perception of comedy being a bit below the other art forms because of the microphone and the sound system, and it's easier to set up and it's easier to. I think there's a perception from some people that they
Mm.
think of it as a bit lower and a bit of an
Yeah.
arrogance towards it.
Yeah. And it's, yeah. And this one, again, one of the like reasons for setting up all the funds and everything is I think that stand up comedy as an art form has shot itself in the foot by the best people at it making it look effortless. Because the
Ah,
whole thing is making it seem like you've just stood up and you're just telling an audience about a funny little story that happened. Like, it's set up like you're just telling your mates a funny story, but like it's not that. But so many of like the best in the world have made it look like that. So people think, well, I'm funny. I make my mates laugh in the pub. Like I can just, and you're like, oh, it's like that's a part of it, sure, but there's so much more to it than that. Like these jokes are written; they're not like a conversation between you and the audience. It's a one way thing. But yeah, I think so many people are like, oh, this person's just stood up and they're just riffing right now, And then tomorrow they'll stand up and say something completely different. You're like, no, 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 this is a written set. Or like, this is an hour-long show and you've actually just fucked around for 10 minutes of it. So now they can't get to the ending of the show in time. Like, you wouldn't do that at the theatre.
Yeah. But even for acts that are well known for being good riffers, like what's his face, Russell Hicks,
Yeah.
Patrick Monahan, there's a bit of prep that they do in beforehand to make it look so effortless, and you're under
Yeah.
pressure as well. It's not like you're sat in a pub doing it where there's no pressure.
Yeah.
You're under pressure in the compressed space where all eyes are on you and everyone's watching you.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, it's when you start to hear, like comedians talking about there'll be like a certain joke that they tried and it didn't land, and then you change like one word of it and then it kills every time. Where like an audience don't go like, ah, that's funny because of where that word was. Like they just go like, oh, that's a funny little premise. Like you're not supposed to, as an audience, you're not supposed to be thinking about these minute details that the acts are thinking about. You're supposed to go, this is really funny. Like where actually like, yeah, well, someone shouted out right at that word that's really important, so then that whole joke didn't make sense, which meant the next joke didn't make sense, which means that like now the whole show's bombing and now you think they're a bad comedian, but actually the audience was weird. And like, like it's such a, I think, yes, and it was far more complex than it's given credit for, because as you say, it's like person and mic in the back of a pub. It's like so easy to set up, but like, you can set it up wrong.
Yeah.
Like one light that like moves during your set and the room's fucked. Like I think people don't think about these like little things.
Following on from what we've just said there, being a comedy producer, what do you think that agents, well, maybe not, let's not mention agents, but venues,
Mm.
comedians, and punters don't realize in terms of the effort you do in to put on a good and great comedy production?
Mm, good question. I will say, so a lot of what I'm doing, at least with Brass Tacks, is kind of less in the room. Like it's a bit more kind of like planning rather than like physically setting up like the tech and everything on the night. But I do think like comedy clubs, like, all the best comedy clubs in the world are kind of the same in that they're like dark, low ceilings, very plain, like no distractions, and just very like so that everything that you're focusing on is the act on stage. Where I remember seeing gigs before the Fringe last year in what I could truly describe as the worst venue of all time. And I would like tell comedians about it and I'd be like, hey, picture a comedy club, yeah? And then change everything. Like high ceilings, flowers everywhere, glass behind the act so you could see everyone walking past. Like noisy, you can hear drinks being made. Like everything about it was terrible. And then I'm like, oh, people will come to that event. No one will laugh because it's such a weird environment. But you, as an audience, don't think, do you know what? It's because I'm a bit distracted because I can see people walking past and because I can hear the bar and because there's like I'm looking at all the flowers and stuff. They go, that comedian wasn't very good. And you're like, no, 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 no. That isn't what happened. Um, but yeah, I have so many like opinions about on the night and how things should be. But in terms of, I guess, yeah, more so what I do. Or no, sorry, remind me of your question about so comedians, producers
Uh,
of venues.
Often when you run, I run a few shows here, so in London, but often sometimes comedians, audiences, and venues don't understand what goes on behind the scenes and don't appreciate the efforts. I don't mind comedians, I don't mind punters, but through recent experiences, I find that venues are the most annoying to deal with. Comedians, I sort of know them, and like
Yeah.
punters, yeah, but venues, I find I got a good one at the moment. They're really nice and they're supportive, but yeah, I find venues to be the biggest pain in running comedy gigs.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably lucky in that like I imagine if you're putting on shows you're probably like the venues is like a bar or something, right? And you're trying to turn it into like a comedy space where at least I'm in a lucky position where I'm like trying to tour an act and I'm putting them in comedy clubs that like know they know what's required of them because they're a comedy club, which is a lot easier than like yeah, being trying to put on a show in a pub or in a whatever other space.
Yeah.
And then yeah, because I imagine you're getting a lot of or just people thinking it's so much more simple than it is because they're like, you've got a microphone, what else do you need? Like, and you're like, oh, we need like the lights down, please.
Well, it's also that there's they a lot of the times they don't keep their word, and a lot of times they expect a lot, but they give very little. As you
Uh,
said, they expect it just being that. Um, it's almost as if they don't want you there sometimes with the staff
yeah,
out there, and there's no effort in there. When you chat to them face to face, everything seems all right, but when you work with them, you learn so much more about them than you do.
yeah, yeah. It has admittedly been a while. I mean, it still happens, but like, yeah, at least at the moment, all the venues that we work with are fantastic, and like, and as well at like the Glasgow Comedy Festival, the venues we work with, like, yeah, working with comedy venues where they're essentially like acting as the promoter, and I'm just kind of like booking a show in kind of thing. So yeah, I do. I know what you mean though. I have definitely done that in the past where you like you think that you're going to have this like lovely collaborative working relationship with a venue, and then actually you turn up and you're like very much a venue hire and you're on your own, and they'll serve drinks, but like that's it, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, I'm doing everything else, great. But yeah, I've definitely had that in the past, and I don't envy you still having to go through it.
No, I don't either. But what do you find like the hardest thing about producing comedy shows as a whole that people don't
um,
often recognize?
yeah, so I think yeah, there's a lot to do, obviously. So I basically, at least with Brass Tacks Comedy, it's kind of because I think producing is such a like generic term. Like no one really knows what it means, myself included, because everyone has a different definition of what it means. But at Brass Tacks Comedy, basically what I'm doing, it's split into the Fringe, directing shows, touring shows, and then the like business side of things. So the like social media and email marketing and like cash flow and budgets and all that type of stuff, which I love that because admin nerd as discussed. But with the Fringe and like touring and directing, it's even that like everyone, every producer does tackles the Fringe slightly differently, like as they should, because it's such a complex thing. And with tours and directing, and like because well, yeah, I guess directing's kind of separate because that's far more on like the creative side where you're actually like working with an act on their show and the joke structure and like the theme of the show and how it all puts together and everything. But yeah, the Fringe, I guess, is like an example. So with, I guess, IO and Jack are a good example because I have done literally everything for them. So for them, it's like the like venue negotiations and contracts and booking in all their work in progresses and like checking ticket sales for all their work in progresses and writing a marketing campaign and getting their stand-up clips like clipped for them to go on social media and hiring street team and managing street team and the poster design or like at least briefing a designer. We had an incredible designer, but like coming up with the brief, getting photos taken for them. Like it's the list can become pretty endless, which is kind of or yeah, for me the hardest part of it, and this is maybe a me problem, and it's the pros and cons of being an actual comedy fan working in this industry, is I love comedians and the art form and the people that I'm working with, which means that especially for something like the Fringe, it's really easy to feel like you're not doing enough for someone who deserves the world because there's always 10 other things that you could be doing. Like especially for something like the Fringe because it's a beast. Like I think that I am pretty good at what I do and I work hard and I like give a shit, which is a big part of it, but that can really quickly flip into like being awake at night being like, I haven't done this thing yet for this one person, and like they don't even know that you were supposed to have done it. Like as far as so far anyway, I don't think anyone's ever felt that about me, but that's my like biggest fear is that this person, say like IO as an example, deserves the world. It deserves like the best possible platform to have a really good Fringe, and that's an endless task. Like, there's always one more person you could have invited, or like one more bit of training for your street team you could have included, or like one more social media post you could have done, and like it can just feel endless. Oh, is that me like completely catastrophizing like the Fringe? Like we're not saving lives, we're just selling tickets, but I'm like completely catastrophizing it.
Okay. And okay.
Was that too negative? You're like, okay, cool. You need to tell
I
a
don't.
therapist that, but
I, That's why I'm wearing my glasses, Katie. I, do I look like I look like a therapist that's gone on holiday?
Yeah, maybe. You just need like some framed like degrees behind you and then you're sorted.
What about those folders on the top? Do they look like they're good enough?
Oh yeah. Oh, like a traditional a ring binder.
I've got the
Yeah, very
Spider-Man
fancy.
toy as well. I've got the
Nice.
affirmations. Don't know.
Oh, great. I was gonna say like what's the little post-it? Is that like a to-do list? Is that something
Oh,
you're supposed to be doing?
or something.
I can't read it from here if that helps. So I was like, is that maybe you're like, remember to do X?
Well, some people I think may go and, oh, what's he going about? Let's zoom in.
Yeah, true. Sorry. Well, I mean, if I'm just talking to you like a therapist, then it's only fair.
Okay, is we swap around now.
Yeah. Yeah, what's your biggest fears?
Biggest fears are that I never find out what that message is on your wall with the
Oh,
pink
but
and blue. Right.
this is all my boyfriend stuff. He was in charge of decorating this room and then I took
Oh,
over. It's a music thing. He works in music.
oh, okay, that
I think
must
it's
be good.
I think it's lyrics. I can tell you, he'll kill me for not knowing what it is, but this is all him. This is all music stuff.
But I'll say two things on this. I heard I spoke to Shalaka Kurup and she told me that in music with some of the things that go on in comedy, they say that if someone doesn't pay people, they'll all join together and they won't work for them or go to that
Mm,
person. But that won't happen in comedy because Eddie
does
Brimson
not
says
happen in comedy.
even with Andrew Lawrence being cancelled and from Southend, someone called up and said, "Do you have a date at all?"
Yeah. I know it like me and so my boyfriend Craig, as I said, works in me does like basically a similar job to me but in music. And some of the things that I'll like tell him about comedy and he's like, what? Like like and I don't know why it's so different. I don't know if it's easier if you're in a band with like other people. Is it easier where if if there's four of you in a band, you can kind of have a conversation and say, I've heard this thing about this promoter or booker or whatever. I think we should like support our colleagues and not book them where or not work with them even. Whereas when you're just like an individual, is it like harder to have those conversations with yourself? And I don't know what it is, but it does feel like yeah, music people really like club together and fix problems.
There's
Like
not.
we're here, and also there's just not. I mean, I don't know if is there more opportunity in music than at comedy? Like probably not, but like sometimes it feels like there'll be like a club or whatever that that haven't done anything like that. Like they haven't like not been paying acts, but they're just like a bit arsy to work with, like whatever. And comedians are like, wish I could boycott them, but like gig's a gig, like have to make a living, and you're like, fair enough. Like, but it's tough. Music seems like better organized.
Yeah, that's that's true. That they seem to be better business people,
Yeah.
business savvy.
Yeah, and then like, yeah, is that a good thing about comedy that it's not so like business minded? But I don't know. One of the things that I have taken from music is that so Craig, my boyfriend, will go to all of these like air quotes networking events, but the organizers don't make them feel like networking events. And I think that's something that comedy doesn't do at all. And like that like I certainly if you hear the word network, you're like, oh, like I don't want to I don't know how to network, I don't want to network, that sounds awful. But he'll go to like music festivals that are almost like for industry and they'll do like a whiskey tasting and talk about Scottish artists and then like they'll have poutine and talk about Canadian artists and like they do all this really cool getting to know each other stuff. And so one of the things that we did with Red Bull was that we basically didn't we felt kind of guilty to only support one person. So we invited all the applicants to like a kind of industry day where so we invited all the applicants and then gave them kind of first dibs and then just opened it up to any like act that wanted to come along. And we ended up with like 60 or 70 people in Blackfriars for a full day thing, like a bunch of acts in one room. And we put on like panel talks from like bookers and we got like a social media creator up from London who works with Red Bull and we tackled four topics basically. So we did social media, approaching gigs, the Edinburgh Fringe, and writing an hour, and had all these like panel talks, and then just got a pint after. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, it's just like we're trying to not it's not been shaped as like networking or like learning or like anything. It's like, look at all these cool people in a room together who like all want the same thing, which is for Scottish comedy to be the best it can possibly be. And it was like such a lovely day, and we drank so much Red Bull. Like Red Bull like kitted it out, and we had like speakers and like there's fridges everywhere. You could help yourself to Red Bull. At one point, Red Bull said, "Hey, we actually don't promote overconsumption," and I was like, "Okay, because we've all had like 3 Red Bulls each. We're having a great day." But it was amazing. I mean, like, and everyone learned so much, and we like recorded it, and I got sent notes out to everyone after, and like, but that was completely stolen from music because Craig goes to these events all the time, and they're all Creative Scotland funded, and like they get funding, they put on good events, they all network, skill share, and then work together after it. Where like comedy has like an artist bar at the Fringe, where no one wants to talk about work. You're like there to have a good time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. Like I just don't think there's much like networking in comedy.
And yeah, I also hear a lot of conversations with people that run music bars or whatever. They talk about you being paid, whilst a lot, I know sometimes venues try and approach me and they say that one of them said straight away, so how much are you gonna pay? Like they heard about me and they want to put on a show and they said, how much are you willing to pay to put on a show? The first thing you said,
Oh
I said straight away, I don't do that, mate. Sorry. And
no.
he looked a bit surprised by that, but in music, I hear it seems to be the other
Mm.
way. They try and pay you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm gonna ask Craig about that. Yeah, because I wonder, I know that because so my boyfriend works for like a promoter, but it's linked to a club in Edinburgh, and they do sometimes have like venue hires, I guess. So it's like that he'll put on gigs, so he'll approach a band and say, "Do you want to perform here?" And then they'll work out, like he'll offer them a fee. But I guess some people do like room hires, but it's maybe like you'd hope you. I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know if the room hires is just what he calls them, or whether people are actually like paying 100 quid to rent the venue and then and then taking all their ticket money.
Yeah,
But yeah, if someone like I feel like if a venue approaches you, they can't then ask you how much you're going to pay. Like, well, you approached me, so like
yeah.
that's a weird one.
Well, the worst one I had of that is where someone came in and I think I did say to them before I met that I don't accept any minimum spend or hire fees. They said okay, and then when I went to the venue, it was in a really rough-looking area. The place looked a bit roughed up, and then I go in there, and then at the end of it, they say, "So we charge about £1,000." And I said, "What?
Oh,
What? I bet he sent you an email saying that I don't
yeah.
accept that."
Oh, yeah. Like, just don't waste your time. Like, to tell people that up front, so you don't have to go see the venue to find that out.
It is what it is. I think comedy is a bit of a wild goose chase in that
Mm.
regard. Yeah, I think comedians. I spoke to a comedian on a podcast called Cajun Brookie, and he says when he does comedy, he says, "I'm a businessman, but my but I'm a businessman in comedy." And so that, and
Yeah.
he says that a lot of comedians don't do that, and I think we perhaps should because
Mm.
when we're doing a lot of free gigs, we're so desperate to get people in, but you do realize that you're putting no value in it. And if you charge a ticket,
Yeah.
you could do all sorts of things. You could get promotion deals with local venues, or you could do that.
Mm.
But if you make it free and you're just desperate to get people in, one, if the show's not too good, they'll walk out rather quickly. Two, they'll
Yeah.
book it. You're going to get a lot of no shows because they haven't paid anything to show up. Whilst if you charge them a ticket, if they've at least booked it online, there's a chance they'll show.
Yeah. 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 It like I've I think about this a lot recently that any comedian, like even if you're not putting on your own gigs, you're just being a comedian that like unfortunately you're now running a business. And that's really annoying for some people. Because as I said, people want to just like write jokes and perform and make people laugh and do the creative side. But like especially in this day and age, not to sound like an old lady, but like you have to learn social media marketing, and you probably need an email list. You need to understand email marketing and how to set all of these things up, and like how to advocate for yourself and ask for better fees, and like how to budget and all. Like there's so much that I understand completely why so many comedians then get told they're bad at admin because there's so much to it, which is obviously then why you hope that you then get an agent or a manager or producer or whatever you need. But like Yeah, it's a weird, and again, that happens in music and it happens in every art form that like you get in it because of the art, and then all of a sudden you are now a business, like, and you're ultimately selling a product. Like whether your product is your hour-long show or your 5-minute set or whatever it is, you're in sales now. No one will like no well not no I guess, but like so many how many comedians do you know that would be like, I would love a job in sales? Like no one wants that, but like that's what you're doing now. You're selling yourself or your show or your 5 minutes to a booker, and like that's terrifying.
Sell me this pen.
Oh God, no. I'll do the therapy, but I'm not doing sales.
Okay.
But like it totally is, and like yeah, the one of the most interesting parts about that like networking day, or not networking, but that like industry day that we did, it was yeah, social media. Like basically we had Kim Blythe and Paul Black, two like incredible like content creators and performers in Scotland. And the just like all they gave so many great like insights and tips, and they shared so much knowledge about how they like became like big on TikTok. But the main takeaway was get over yourself. Like, because people were like, I don't really like want to like post like a video of my face or whatever, and they were like, yeah, I'm so sorry, but you do just have to get over yourself. Like, you just have to do it. And that became one of the key messages of the day was get over yourself and don't be a dick. That was the two. That was because then it was how to approach gigs, and we pretty much settled on just don't be a dick. Like just message bookers, be polite, send them all your stuff, don't make them ask questions, and just don't be a dick. Actually, like so it was very Scottish of us that was the main how to succeed in comedy. Get over yourself, don't be a dick.
But I'm guessing if it was in Glasgow, they'll say, "Don't be a C word."
I think we kind of
Okay.
what's it called, self-censored. I think we
Okay.
actually went with don't be a dick, but
I know that in Liverpool or some they would say, "Don't be a."
Mm.
We can swear in this podcast, but
Yeah, okay, yeah, I hope so. I definitely have been. I can't help myself.
why are English comedians better than Scottish comedians?
Why are you trying to hurt my feelings?
I'm just, I'm so sorry. I'm so
You know that that's not true. That's so weird that you said that.
no. There's, yeah.
Listen, some English comedians are good. I will admit it. It's like, not all men. Like some English comedians are funny. Some of them even live in London. I'm joking. There's obviously incredible comedians who are English and who live in London. Um, but it's just that they're not the only funny ones.
No, I think there's a lot of terrific and amazing comedians across the globe, and yeah, it's a bit, and yeah, it should be based on how good you are, no matter where you are based in the country. You shouldn't have to just move down London to get there.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, like I don't know how Live at the Apollo works, but like send some people uh, traveling, send some people to Scotland and to like Wales and to Ireland and Northern Ireland and Manchester and like wherever else. Just send people around. Surely they've got money. Not this is not me like I'm trying to take down Live at the Apollo, but like as an example, Live at the Apollo seems to still be the kind of the epitome of like comedy TV. Just book some Scottish acts.
Yes. What's is there any do people in Edinburgh, Glasgow tease comedians that come from down south up to Scotland? If someone goes,
Yeah.
"What there? I'm from London. You guys listen up. I'm the funniest person here." Do you what sort of things do you guys do for comedians coming down south?
I think what do we say behind your back? You mean?
How do you tease that?
I know that. Would you mind me saying this? Jack Trainer had a running joke. So when he got an offer from Pleasance, which we were so excited about, like I do think that I'm about to slag off. Well, I'm about to quote Jack slagging off the Pleasance. I think the Pleasance was the perfect venue for him, and I'm so excited for him to be the Pleasance. However, Jack Trainer, like a Cumbernauld boy, like very like Scottish through and through. I said, "Hey Jack, great news! You've been offered a slot at Pleasance." And he replied, "Should I wear dungarees and double barrel my second name?" I said, "Yes, that's the only way that you can win an award, I'm afraid." So his whole thing is wearing dungarees and having a double barrel name, just so that he can get on TV.
Okay.
Which is quite a niche stereotype, I think. There's lots of double barrels everywhere, but I don't know where the dungarees came from. Is that like a London hipster thing?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
But no, we do. I promise that in Scotland we do get really excited when all of the English acts come up for the Fringe, but we do slag you off behind your back.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, we actually don't. No, I think I do. They're like, from what I can tell anyway, because it's really hard complaining about Scottish acts not getting enough because, like the awards, for example, right, where just historically Scottish comedians don't win awards at the Fringe, which just like statistically, you would think that there would be more Scottish nominations than anywhere else because the Fringe is on our doorstep and there's more Scottish shows than there are anywhere. Like, and you would just think that there would be more awards for Scottish acts. But then I feel like in Scotland, whenever we collectively complain about that, we always have to caveat, but obviously everyone who gets nominated deserves it. Like I don't think anyone's going like, those English wankers keep winning awards and they're not funny. It's just like they deserve it, but also so does like one Scottish act, you know? Like just throw a nomination our way. Because it does, I don't know, it feels like it's obviously just an anomaly or whatever, but I don't know, statistically, there should have been more nominations or awards won by Scottish acts.
When was the last time that happened? Was it with Richard Gadd that there was an award for us?
Yeah, I think Larry Dean's been nominated twice, and then there was Richard Gadd year, and then the Ish Awards. The other one, Gareth Much was nominated last year, and like I think that's kind of it. And there was a few shows this year. Honestly, if you ask anyone in Scotland who should have won the Comedy Awards this year, it's Roscoe McClelland. Like, it was the best show I've ever. Every single person I know who saw that show said it was the best show that they saw that Fringe, and it didn't even get sniffed at.
Ross McKellen.
Roscoe McClelland.
Okay.
There's so many other Scottish acts that should have been nominated this year, but I'm very biased towards Roscoe's show because I saw it twice, loved it so much, like incredible. But it was like in the Hive. I don't know. Do people from the awards not want to go into the Hive? Like, just yeah, an incredible act. His best work he's ever done. I just don't know anyone who saw the show and said, yeah, it was like top five. Like everyone was like, best show I saw all Fringe, and then
Yeah.
got nothing.
What, there's a producer, how do I say it? Not to be, well, I can be quite straight talking. I'll say things that I shouldn't say, but there's this person that I know of, who's a producer. I know of them, and that
You're
I'll
like, their
leave
name
it there
rhymes with.
with dirtbag. No, I'm joking. Sorry. Um, but I know this person, and they said that with and Ian Lane. No, that wasn't him. He's a comedian. He's not a
Right.
producer. He's my friend. He did a Excel spreadsheet that showed all these little Fringe shows, and the people that got reviews were all in the paid venues, and only one or two. But the lady told me that when she used to do the show in a free Fringe venue, it was she got no responses in terms of reviews or anything that people come and see
Right.
it. But when she did the paid venues, easy as piss.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, like obviously that's why people pay the huge fees, right? Is because you're probably more likely to get reviewed and to get like industry to come and see it and to get awards panel in and like all these other things. But yeah, as I say, did I say this already? That I do think, I don't know, maybe I'm being hopeful, but I do think that that's changing in the right direction. But it's definitely not a problem that is fixed. But if, I don't know, it feels like it's going the right way. Because Rob Copland won an award or was nominated last year, and he was
So that,
a
yeah.
free Fringe venue. So like it's getting there. It's happening, but yeah, not it's not perfect.
No, but it see, but that's what they told me, and I saw that in like Ian Lane's thing, and there seems to be, yeah, I don't know, it feels a bit iffy that someone has to spend £10,000 or 7,000 or £5,000
Mm.
to get a review. And what if the review's
Yeah,
bloody shit? What
yeah,
if they're in debt like £5,000 and they get a one
yeah.
star review from Copsick or Chortle or Steve,
Mm.
oh, what's his name again? He will never review me anyway, but
Steve Bennett. Steve Bennett's at
Steve
Churchill.
Bennett, the
Yeah,
guy who goes, listen here, son. This was a load of shit. 1 star.
Yeah. Or you pay all that money and you get a review and it's like 4 stars and it's a perfectly good review. You don't, does that sell tickets? Like it might. I'm not saying it like doesn't sell tickets, but you don't actually know if that sells tickets and how many tickets it sells. So was it worth however much money you paid for it or however much time you put in to like graft in to get reviewers in or to write your press release? Like it's just another one of those weird unknowns as to whether you need the reviews or not.
But on the caveat of it is that I know two clown comedians. They're both, yeah. One of them is a good friend of mine. The other one, I know them, but they're bloody talented. Both of them,
Right.
they're very talented, and they deserve everything they got. But they got agents from it, and it helps them get into other festivals across the world because they got some
Hmm.
sort of credibility.
Yeah.
But I don't know if five. It still feels a bit iffy spending that kind of money because I just think
Mhm.
if you have a lot of audiences come to see you, if you're just in the free fringe and you're making a bit of money, I'd much rather have that.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and it, like actually one of the another thing from that like workshop thing we did, we had a fringe panel with like a paid venue programmer, myself, which was arrogant to put myself on a panel. However, there are not many producers that live in Scotland, so I had to, and a PR. And we talked about the fringe. And one of the questions was, so how do you do the fringe and not get into loads of debt? We were like, oh, if anyone knew the answer to that, none of us would be in this room. We'd all be too busy. We'd all be too busy with our millions. Um, but kind of what we landed on, and it's such a good point, is, and it's easier said than done, but if you're a comedian thinking about the fringe, it's like you really need to have like a long, hard think about why you want to do the fringe and what you want out of it. And that's really hard to decipher because obviously everyone goes like, oh yes, I want to like sell out every weekend. I'd like to get picked up by an agent. I want 5 star reviews and I want to do like a bunch of paid gigs while I'm there. And you're like, okay, cool. That would be that would be a life changing fringe, but you're probably not going to get that. So like, what specifically is it that you want out of it? Because if you want to just be a better comedian at the end of the month and try and build an audience, then you don't need to get reviews or to pay for PR or to pay to be in a paid venue. That you can do the free fringe and you can run your show 26 times and have an incredible show by the end of it and build up an audience. But if you want press coverage and industry attention, then like, oh yeah, you do have to pay for PR, but maybe you don't need to spend loads of money on like street team and your focus is just getting reviewers in. I mean, that doesn't, obviously you'd want audiences in while you have reviewers in, but it's really hard to do that because I think everyone naturally goes like, well, I want all of those things. And like, but pick one, and then that's how you budget your fringe. Like, you don't have to pay for PR if reviews aren't important to you, or like you don't have to pay for hours and hours of street team if your priority is somewhere else. Like, but I think everyone, it's so easy at the fringe to look at what everyone else is doing and think you have to do it as well. And that's how people then spend £10,000 on PR and big out of hand boards and your poster being everywhere and loads of street team and they do everything, which sure puts you in the best possible position for success. But like, yeah, I don't, that's my, I mean, obviously the better fix would be that everything didn't cost what it currently costs, but we as individuals can't change that. So yeah, figure out if you actually want to do the fringe or are you just going because everyone else is going, or are you going because it'll progress you as a comedian or progress your career? And like, yeah, easier said than done, but I think it is a good exercise for any acts thinking about or going to the fringe. Is like, what's your priority, and then budget around that.
I did. I heard an interesting thing from Luke Meredith, the PVH man, and he says that one of the reasons for a lot of performers, cabaret performers, make tons of money from during the fringe. It's a big money spinner for them. It was funny here that coming that I do stand up, but a lot of people always moan about losing money. But
Yeah.
he also said that one of the reasons for expensive rent was comedians are insular and we don't like do dodgy Del Boy deals enough to try and find a good deal. Like some of them don't want things down the official route because if you
Yeah.
want a good deal, you've got people that don't want to do all this paperwork and all this official stuff. Um, And another point of that as well, I spoke to a few taxi drivers or Uber drivers in the Fringe, and I spoke to a barman at 32 Below, and he told me that during the Fringe, landlords triple or double their rent, and they
Yeah,
kicked a few people out that were there.
yeah. It's like, I know, God, like fringe accommodation is it's a whole other pod. That's a podcast in itself. It is absolutely mental, and yes, part of the reason why people are now kind of forced into the dodgy deal route is that the Edinburgh Council changed the like laws around short-term lets. So to rent out a room or your flat short term, so like for example the Fringe, you have to pay hundreds and hundreds of pounds to get a license in order to do that, and you pay hundreds of pounds and your license might get rejected and all. So I think that's why a lot of people now are forced to do the like dodgy off books deal. Which, but yeah, that is difficult because that might be the way to get a good discount and a good deal, but it's also like less safe. It probably won't be less safe, but you're then running the risk. And if you're like a female comedian, or I mean any type of comedian, like don't actually care about men's safety, but like if you're anyone and you're already going into debt to do this festival, and then you're going to take this risk to live with this or to leave all of your worldly possessions in a flat that you have no like record of being in, and you can like it's so weird. I see totally see what you mean. Like the way to get cheap rent is to know someone who knows someone who you can text direct and not have to do it through the council and blah blah blah. But yeah, it's tricky because there's pros and cons to both. Like you're there for a month, you need to feel safe. It's awful.
Dave Bibby also told me something as well. It was a bit dodgy. He said, "Don't book anything. Just wait for someone who's really well organized admin wise and say, oh, they've had a cancellation, and just go, oh, I'm available then."
Yeah, true. It's a risky strategy, but it'll pay off.
But yeah, I mean, you do worry that someone's going to go, what's a good, I'm going to try and do an Eastern European accent. Yeah, your bare money. Just 50 quid, but it's filled with bed bugs, and
Oh,
don't
yeah.
worry about Dodgy Dave. He just makes weird noises for no reason.
Yeah. Except actually that accent is like a posh Edinburgh landlord.
Have you heard of any horror stories in Edinburgh, or have you been part of any
Um,
accommodation stories?
Not yet. I've got pretty lucky actually. Like, and I mean, yeah, a lot of the acts that I work with live here, which helps.
Yeah.
I'm not aiming great. Like the acts that I had last year that came up from London, both had lovely accommodation, and I mean, it cost them like a lot, but it wasn't thousands and thousands a lot. Because also like Edinburgh rent year round is awful. Like
Oh,
I mean, it's not fringe awful by any, it's a fraction of fringe awful, but like it's a really expensive place to live. So then it's probably already, I mean, obviously compared to London, I'm sure it's like, I mean, it'll be marginally cheaper than London, but not wildly cheaper than London. So I guess London acts won't see the difference too much. But like, I'm sure someone said to me something about, they were like, oh yeah, I've got a pretty good deal. And it'll be like a shared room with someone, but they're like, yeah, I'm going to get charged £500 for the month. I'm like, that's less than I pay. And I live here year round.
ah,
Like, because you would typically, so when you go on holiday, like spend like a week in a hotel, you're kind of expecting that week in a hotel to be more expensive than like a week's rent. So some people, I mean, like, the people getting good deals are the absolute minority. Like, there's other people getting charged 5 grand for 4 weeks, and you're like, yeah, that's crazy. Maybe someone said £500, like, that's a pretty good deal. It's like I would kill to pay £500. My rent is like 700.
oh yes, I think I know which one it is. Um, should I? No, I won't say it here.
Oh, which like act?
No, no, I think I know which resource they use to get that sort of deal.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, I went to Belfast and I thought I don't mind going to hotels, but there's a bit of a distance, and
Mm.
I want to get to know people and chat to people. But I think a hostel's probably good for that, no, in terms of like meeting people. But it's
Yeah.
dirty and it could be fishy. But I thought I'd be trying to be clever and do an Airbnb, chat to the host, get to know a few things.
Mm.
It was very distant. You just listen
Yeah.
here, Sonny Jim. You just stay there, and that's that. I mean, it was fun talking to the comedians and having the spice bag, going to Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh,
But
nice.
I like to be around people and chat to locals and hear funny, weird stories. But
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
thing I had was that some guy had four audience in for open mic in Belfast. I was always my first gig. They cancelled it, but then
Oh,
I had to wiggle in a favor from someone I interviewed in a podcast.
nice.
He was lucky enough to put me on, and I dressed up as Zorro. And yeah, so I'll do the voice, shall I? Hello, Nelita. My name is Asian Zorro. You look like a very talented and clever lady that knows the world.
Why Zorro?
Asians are. Oh, because I went to Goliath and I did some Spanish thing and it went quite well.
Oh,
And I dressed up as Zorro for one Halloween comedy show. And a bit of a laugh.
nice.
I engaged with people. Um,
I think maybe I missed it, but I don't think you said anything about Halloween before, and I think you just said that you did a gig and dressed up as Zorro.
well, it's the same thing, yeah. But I normally do that now as my main thing. I dress up as Zorro.
Great. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a good laugh. I get away with a lot of things. Get to banter a bit. People always play and take the piss a bit, and I take the piss back, and it always happens. I always get heckled as
Nice.
Zorro. It's a ridiculous outfit, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
The
I've
voice is
definitely seen
ridiculous
Zorro.
too.
Why can't I think what he wears? What's the outfit?
You maybe saw me in Edinburgh 2 years ago because I did. A lot of people saw me.
Nice.
Um, he wears a nice sombrero. He wears a mask. He wears a
Mm.
headband. Um,
Yes, this is coming back to me.
just like Puss in Boots, but I
Oh
wear a mask.
yeah, nice. That's cool. I didn't realize you went to Goliath. That's very fancy.
Yeah, it's very expensive. The main thing I'll
Mm.
say about a school is that there are a mix of very talented circus performers and all of that, but it's mostly of a certain kind of ilk of person, and
Right.
I don't like that. I like comedy because there's a wide range of different kind of people, and you hear different
Yeah.
stories, different viewpoints. I know that
Mm.
you're gonna hate me for this, but I didn't like hearing they all sort of had certain points of views, and if you were against it, they would all and they were
Right.
all saying things like, I know this is wrong and all that, but they were saying things like, oh, Trump's this, Trump's that. And it's a bit like, I got better things to do with my time than that. And also, yeah, I don't know. I've not formed my own opinion on the situation. I don't know enough to form it, but don't force that down my throat, please.
Yeah, fair. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is to talk about how much I hate Donald Trump. But I
Oh,
understand
sorry,
if someone
sorry.
doesn't. But no, but I get it. If someone doesn't want to hear about it, then fine.
But I want to hear a healthy debate between people
Yeah,
without people saying that you're this or that. And I felt that in that in Goliath sometimes people are a bit too much of that, and that's
right.
what. And it's yeah, comedy's got a wide range of people. That's why I love it.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, and it's like I do love to like my as much we've just spent like what the best part of an hour slagging off the Fringe. It is my favorite thing on the planet. Like for all of its evil, there's just nothing makes me happier than like sitting in like some shitty artist bar with some of the funniest, most talented people that you know, having the most interesting conversations that you've ever had, and just like laugh and like I feel like that kind of that side of the French where you get to everyone, it's like school camp, right? Like everyone that you've ever met and worked with is in the same place for a month, and you just get to like drink pints and eat a 15 quid burger from a van and laugh all night. And like there's just nothing better than that. Like that kind of makes it all worth it. Which is mental to say because you're like, yeah, no, I'm £15,000 in debt and I've had a mental breakdown, but I get to have this lovely night out with my friends. But it's just like, I don't know, there's like some type of like there's magic in the air and everyone's just having a good time. And yeah, you get to like I've had so many nights at the Fringe where you just sit. It's not even like you're like drinking, 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 but you'll just sit and like have beers and sit on a park bench outside a bar at 3 in the morning, like debating and like laughing and having like just interesting and like getting to know people on this weirdly like deep level, and then you never talk to them again, and then you see them a year later and you're like, hey, let's be best friends again. Like I just love all of that side of it, of just arguing with each other with love.
No, it's a great festival. Lots of great shows. Ruben K's K-Ho was amazing when I
Yeah,
saw it.
yeah,
Um,
that's great.
I
Very the
like
peak of silly.
yes, and grotesque.
Yeah.
No, and I like Drunken Hecklers as well from David Tusonis. What a great show that is.
Oh, I've not
Uh,
seen that.
so what it is they do. I know there's a lot of heckle shows in Edinburgh, but I know that they give people lights or little things to shake when they want to heckle,
Right.
and so
That's
they do
cool.
that. And for some reason, there was this. So Matt Foster, he's a brilliant Canadian comic, but what was so funny about it, they kept on mentioning Sri Lanka because someone got married there, and they kept on mentioning it through his set, and it just put him off. And he did not. It was just so funny watching him be, "What do I say with this?"
Yeah, they actually have no material about that.
But yeah, I love shows that are a bit bonkers. I run a
Yeah.
heckle show as well with
Oh, nice.
Siobhan Dodd, and I run an improv show, which is quite a bit of fun, where I put a random topic. First minute is free, but in the middle of the set, they get a noise and they get a random topic chosen by the audience and other comics in the suggestions box. So someone
Nice.
like farting in heaven or something, and that'll be their topic for they have to 2 minutes, and then yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do love all those. Because it kind of feels like, and I don't know why, but like those, I mean, obviously you're putting on shows like that, but they're so like far less common. Like just, on any given Friday night in Edinburgh, Glasgow, or wherever you live, you're probably just going to see straight stand, like a mixed bill show, like straight stand up. Whereas in the Fringe, yeah, there's so much of that. There's the show, I've actually never seen it, and it like haunts me that I've never seen it, where actors do each other's sets.
Oh, set list. That's run by Will Mars, and it's actually building a bit of following in backyard.
Oh, nice. Like it sounds mental. I would love to see that. Like that's so funny. And that's a real like, I mean it's probably not, but to me it feels like that's a real like comedy nerd show. Like that's one for the people who are really gonna notice like, oh, the way that joke, like they're gonna notice each other's like styles and stuff. Like that sounds right up my street, and I've never managed to see it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I've seen bits and pieces of it. Well, the thing that's so funny is about it is their personas being so different and their
Yeah.
demeanors. And then I don't know, you watch a Chinese comedian talk about being Chinese, and then you see a white guy that looks like a KK member saying talking about being Chinese. It looks so ridiculous.
Yeah. I need to see that this year. I've got quite a list this year because I have previously always worked on like more, like shift patterns essentially, where you're like at a given venue for a shift and then or like at late and live or whatever. So they're gonna have more like flexibility this year to be able to see. So there's a few shows in the Fringe that haunt me because I have never seen them, and I'm like, yep, I'm devastated. I've never seen like some of the classics like Spontaneous Potter and like what was it like just all those like kind of improvised musicals, like all these things that people talk about every single year, and I've never seen them. And like they get brought up in conversation, I'm like, yeah, yeah, like just trying to like not admit that how many shows I haven't seen.
Oh, Shitface Shakespeare's good.
Yeah, yeah, another one on the list. I've never seen it, heard so much about it. It's there every year.
Oh,
Like,
and I'm a big Buffy fan, actually. I know it sounds a bit strange. Not seen that. Ah,
I don't know much Buffy, but the is it Hamilton? Like the Hamilton improvised musical one. I love Hamilton, and I absolutely want to see that.
oh, okay.
But just like I feel like these shows, I mean, maybe it's just my own like naivety, but I feel like they don't like tour year round. Like you're not really get like their Fringe show, and like that's again Fringe. So much, so many problems, so many issues, so much necessary evil. But then you're like, oh, but I get to see a silly improvised musical about Hamilton.
But that's one thing that I've heard with a lot of the improv festivals. Yeah, they don't. You have to apply to be in them, but a lot of them make money. But I
Right.
also heard that a big thing from one of the guys interviewed from Comedy Asians. He said people that are making huge money out of improv are people that are doing theme shows like
Mm.
Ostentatious or The Potter. I don't know what the
Yeah,
name. All these, they're the ones that are really making money from improv.
yeah, yeah. Because I guess you're selling the theme rather than the concept of improv.
Yeah.
Like you're going like, this is a show about Hamilton, like rather than like, come watch improv, which is like vague.
But it makes sense. I mean, I know there was a guest that I had on called Tom Fox, and he's a theatre clown and he's doing quite well in Peterborough. But he told me this great bit of advice. He says, it's all very well you putting on a show, but the key thing you've got to answer is why should people give a shit?
Yeah, yeah. I've been doing a bit of that recently. Actually, more so in like the directing side, but to then use it to sell your show of like, particularly in stand up, and it's maybe like a kind of debut show problem where or a lot of people writing shows, their show is about them and about their life, right? But like, why should any stranger on the street give a fuck about you or your life? They don't know you. Like, so you have to, like, I really don't believe that any stand up show needs to have a theme and a message and like a sad bit and like all that stuff. But you do have to be able to fit it in a structure so you can say when you're flyering or when you're doing any type of promo, this is a show about X thing that you can put yourself into. Like what was an example of one we did recently? It was like kind of just a show about this person, and then we dug deeper to find out that it was like a show about trying and failing to be a better person, basically. And I'm like, now everyone can relate to that. No one gives a fuck about you in the nicest way possible. When you're trying to sell your show, no one cares. Like, you're a stranger on the street. Why would I want to listen to you talk about your life for an hour? But tell me that it's a show about the time that I tried and failed to be a better person. And then you go like, oh yeah, I can put myself into that. Because frustratingly, we're all selfish. We all want to be able to see ourselves in something. So like, yeah, so I feel that it's just like marketing, right? It's like storytelling and blah blah blah. But like, let someone leave your show thinking it was about them rather than being about you.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. That's yeah. It's Have you seen the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire?
Not for a while, but yeah,
You know the scene where he gets the wrestling promoter and he says like, "I'm the human spider." What he says, "Come on, kid. What's your name? What's your name?" And he goes, "I'm the human spider." Like, kid, that name sucks. And then he goes up
yeah,
on the stage and says, the next act facing Bonesaw is the amazing, the brilliant Spider-Man. And then he
yeah,
goes, oh, but that's the thing. You've got to find out what sells you, what's
yeah,
eye-catching. And as you said, oh, what's it called? Struggling to be a better person. Struggling to be a better person on a 12-night pub crawl.
yeah,
But it's interesting. It's a unique angle. It's, oh, okay, that's something I've not heard before. Let's find out about it.
yeah, yeah. And even if the show actually, once you get into it, is 5-10 minute bits that you've been doing on clubs and they kill, but you just add those like little links in and you make it sound like it's a show with a theme and with like a takeaway message at the end, which I think can like, yeah, can make people leave the room feeling like they had this like kind of emotional connection to the show and therefore to you as a performer, and then they leave and then they tell their friends about it, compared to like, yeah, we like laughed a lot, never thought about it again, which like also has a time and place. But I think that, yeah, I don't know, I've been like wrestling with stuff. I don't think every show needs to have a 40 minute death in it, but like I think they do to keep in this day and age, in the TikTok era. None of us have an attention span. So you kind of have to set up a story in a way where we want to stay to find out the ending. And it can be a facade. Like, actually, it's just your club set. But you've set something up so that we all care about how it ends now, compared to it just being like jokes that then, if one joke doesn't land, then the audience kind of switch off and then they start checking their watch and they need to pee and they can want another pint or like whatever. Like, where it's, yeah, tricking people into thinking that it's a story. Or, of course, actually putting, I also, saying that I don't think shows need themes, I love traditional, a 40-minute twist, a sad bit of message. Like, I love that. When it's done well, it's incredible. But you just don't have to have that. But you need something to, like, to, the classic, the review that was like, quote, just jokes. I'm like, I love a just jokes show. It's fun. We're here to laugh. We don't need to be sad and educated. But, like I said, we don't need to be educated by the show. Like, we don't need education. But yeah, I don't know. You need for something like the Fringe, where you need to sell your show in the hour before it starts by handing flyers to someone. You kind of need a something. Otherwise, why should anyone care about you or your show?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, basically, make your show about either Harry Potter or Hamilton, and they'll be fine.
Yes, yes, yes. Or and also for me, because I'm quite a dodgy man, make it about how you recovered from like being a human trafficker, drug dealer for 30, 40 years and how you became a monk.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, how I got out of trafficking humans. What a great pitch. That'll get PR. Why I stopped kidnapping people, actually.
Oh, that could be interesting. I interviewed a comedian called Richard Villa that does that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was so as a Mexican American comedian. His father was not a good guy, and he found stand-up. That's what stopped.
Oh, nice. You see, I love these like redemption stories. They're great.
But yeah, what do I say? So for anyone that's listening right now, I remember you were talking to Danny Dyer, you were talking to Jamie from Top Boy, and you're talking to Aragon from Lord of the Rings. What would be your words of advice if they were looking to get into stand-up?
Oh my God. Like that,
I don't know
like
what
them specifically, or just like a wide range of people?
I'm gonna make it interesting. Let's say them specifically.
God. Who did you say? Danny Dyer. Who else?
Aragon from Lord of the Rings.
Is it
Uh,
bad that I've not seen Lord of the Rings?
okay, Harry from Harry Potter. Who else
Yeah.
is there? And then, of course, have you seen Top Boy?
No. I haven't seen
Okay,
any of the
so
stuff you're supposed to have seen.
what about a roadman? Like someone that yo, like I'm
Okay.
talking to you, yeah.
Okay, how to get into stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So you're all going to need a fake London accent or you're getting nowhere. Drop your
Okay.
regional accents. Oh God, this is an impossible question.
Okay, okay, fine. Let's so if anyone's looking to be a comedy producer or if anyone's being a comedian, what advice would you look to give them?
And I mean, now I can't stop thinking about Danny Dyer. But so being a comedy producer, in fact, generally based on all of the things that I have done and got super lucky with, my biggest advice to anyone anywhere doing anything is if you don't ask, you don't get. Like, I think that there's not enough people just asking for shit. Like, in terms of that's how I started booking shows, was I just asked someone if I could book them. It's like how I started working at Late in Life, was I just asked if there was any jobs. It's how I got the funding, was just asking. I mean, you know, I did more than just ask for it, but like essentially, I just worked hard and asked for it. So anything, like if you're a comedian, ask for gigs. Like just being super proactive, figuring out exactly what you want and then being super proactive about it. And then I feel like you can kind of do anything. If you're like, yeah, if you don't ask, you don't get. Worst case scenario, someone says no. But if they say no in that moment, then something might come up in 6 months' time and they remember the time that you asked. But yeah, I think being a comedy producer, like, it's really hard work, and I think you do have to blur boundaries and really care. Like, you have to kind of let it infiltrate your entire life, and that's not for everyone. So be aware of that. But yeah, like I guess get jobs in the Fringe if you live in Edinburgh, or get jobs in any comedy festival, meet a bunch of people. But yeah, figure out what you're doing differently and then pursue that, I think, because there's a lot of competition. And then being a comedian, and obviously sort of depending on what level you're at, but I do think it's, as I said, if you're a comedian, you've probably not got into it because you want to run a business or work in sales, but there's like quick fixes. Like we spoke in that workshop about, like, you know, if you're trying to get like your first your first couple of bookings in clubs, have a really good 5-minute set that you have a link to, and then have a list of gigs you want to be on and message them all. And don't be a dick. But like the message saying, hi, I am X name. I'm a comedian. Here's what I've done so far. Here's a link to my 5-minute set. Here's a headshot. Here's a bio, whatever. Like, I've also got, we have debated this hard. I've got a thing about, I've got such a pet peeve if someone ever emails and says, let me know if you want me to send you a link. And I'm like, send the link. Because now you're going to make me respond. Now you've added extra work for both of us. And then
No.
sometimes people have messaged me and I'm not booking a gig in that moment. So I don't have any opportunities for them. So now I feel guilty saying, could you send me a link? Because it's going to get their hopes up. But actually, see, if you just send me a link, I might watch it, think you're really funny, follow you on Instagram. And then when I am back booking gigs, I know who you are. So like, send the link, in my opinion. And then, yeah, like things like the Fringe, but it probably also applies to everything, is try your best to figure out what you actually want, like what your goal is, even if it's like your 1 year goal, and then just take like active steps towards that. That's such a simplification of it, but that's kind of what I started doing with Brass Tacks Comedy, and it worked suspiciously well. I'd never like set a goal in my life, and then I just started like setting goals. I set goals for the year, and then I used those goals for the year to make my goals for the month, and then I used my goals for the month to make my goals for the week, and then I just did them all. Like, who knew? Who knew it was so easy? So that's my advice: don't ask, you don't get, and like set goals.
Okay. And the other bit, how do you be a badass lady that? So I don't know why I did that. You don't.
Is that the question? How do you be a bad arse lady?
But is that yeah? How do you be a badass
In comedy or in life? That's, I wouldn't
in life and
self-identify as
comedy?
a badass, but in what sense?
Uh, in terms of like in life.
In life? That's a great question. Hmm.
I don't
Oh my
know
God, that's
why I
such a
did
good
that
question.
movement.
Yeah, you're badass. How do you be a badass? I mean, can I use the same answer again? I would say you don't ask, you don't get. Ask for what you want all the time. And worst case scenario, people say no to you.
Okay.
I think that makes you a bit of a badass. Like if you want something, figure out who to ask for it, and then ask like 20 different people for it, and probably one of them will say yeah. And then
So,
also never do that. That's the other way to. I
so a guy shouldn't be doing that.
don't think anyone should be.
Well, I've seen a lot of American films that say, "Oh no, she didn't. Oh no, she
Yeah.
didn't." Now, for anyone that's listening in and not shocked by what's just
Hmm.
happened, how do they find out about you and get in contact?
Um. So basically, social media. I actually, at the moment, only use Instagram. I should really start using all the other ones, but at the moment, I mean, I post kind of half-arsed on Facebook and TikTok, but Instagram, just at Brass Tacks Comedy, all one word. Um, that's the best place to start. And then from there, we've got a mailing list, we've got like a weekly newsletter, just kind of with like what's on is obviously very Scottish heavy. But if you're not Scottish, you can still hear kind of other like news and updates and fun things about like the Fringe. It's kind of become, the weekly newsletter specifically has kind of become just like me talking about like what I've had a meltdown about that week. So if you want to learn how to be a comedy producer, I'm telling you everything I'm up to. But so there's that, and then once you're on the mailing, you can also opt like out of the weekly newsletter, but just get like big announcements. So if there's a tour show near you or whatever, and if you're an act, on our Instagram, there's a link tree to a bunch of like free resources. They're quite Fringe focused. In fact, they're entirely Fringe focused at the moment. Um, so some of them, if you're doing the Fringe like this year, it might be a bit late. But there's basically like a Fringe survival guide that tells you everything that you need to do and think about for the Fringe. There's a budgeting guide which tells you everything that you at least have to think about spending money on, and some rough like there's figures in there of like what you'll expect to be charged, and a budget like template, and how to write a cohesive show. So there's a just kind of a short guide that basically gives away what I do when I'm directing shows. There's like a little trick that I do that helps kind of bring a bunch of bits into like a cohesive story, as we've talked about. So that's what there's a bunch of like free downloads and stuff. So yeah, Instagram's the best place to be. And then DM, I always like hearing from comedians of like things that they're struggling with or want to work on, and comedy fans. Hopefully it helps people get more involved in comedy.
Okay. Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I will likely be speaking to an impressionist next week. I've got a couple of got a what's it called? So I got there's a guy that's doing a really awesome mental health comedy show talking about men's mental health. Then there's Mags, who's an amazing lady who talks about working in mental health. And then I've booked the brilliant Kate Copstick. So I'm interested to hear what her thoughts are. But that's the next episodes I've got coming up. Hope you guys have enjoyed it.